We'll call the Parker Town Council meeting for December 5th to order at 7 o'clock. All council members are present. At this time, would you please welcome the student council from Pine Lane Elementary, who will be leading us in tonight's flag salute. Woo! Come on down, guys. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, don't run off. We'll get Andy down here to take a picture of us real fast. It's the one time I get to be taller than you guys in the room. So good. Y'all want to scoot in?
Oh, yeah.
Are they blocking anybody? Andy?
No.
Okay.
My kids went to Pine Lane. Pine Lane built a Cherry Creek Trail.
Really?
Yes.
There you go. We got 1, 2, 3. A couple more. 1, 2, 3. One more. 1, 2, 3.
All right. Are we good?
All right. Thank you, guys.
Student government?
Student council.
Student council, yep.
Nice.
All right, so at this time, I'm going to ask, where's Deputy Chief at? And Bree, y'all want to come down? Come on.
Price is right.
Commander Peters, all the command staff. Here.
Ken.
Andy again. So tonight's a special night for us. We get to celebrate Citizens Police Academy graduation. So up with the command staff. So So we had the elementary school. They were formed, ready to go.
We're out of practice.
That's so nice. Do you want to kind of tell what Police Academy is before
Absolutely, sure.
we get our big group up here for the night?
Yeah, so the Citizens Police Academy, it's a 15-week course. Hold it every Thursday night for 15 weeks straight. Members of the community get to come and listen to different officers, other professional staff members, crime scene unit, dispatch, and get a peek into the behind the scenes of what it takes to run a police department. It's a lot more than just the black and white cars out on the road. So this is our 31st academy that we've graduated. 744 people have gone through the academy in total. Yep, so 30 tonight. Yes, yep.
Yeah. Well, thank you all for attending and going through the academy. You know, we like to say the council is very supportive of that. We just had today an accreditation meeting. So the folks that nationally accredit our police department, and we were able to, Councilman Rivera and I were on, and we were able to talk about Citizens Academy and how important that is. You know, it's important that these guys and women are all very transparent with you as to how the department works, how it's led, how it operates within the town. But likewise, the importance is now you go out and you're an ambassador for the police department. So when you hear things that are like, oh, you can't believe what the Parker PD does. Well, if it's Coleman or Lavelle, yeah. But if it's something else, you get the opportunity now to say, hold on, I spent 15 weeks there. I know what goes on. So it's very important. So if you are a graduate, will you please come down? Okay, all right. Breathe. Andy's got the big camera. So come on down. We want to get a picture with you. I know the council's going to be up and down all. Y'all can stand by these guys too. Don't be shy.
Who did you guys get in front? Let us peek through your shoulders.
Come on down, everybody. They'll get some of it. I'm with you. All right, Andy, you can move us around and
Yeah, I get you guys to squeeze in as much as possible. This is more.
go. 1, 2, 3. Take a couple more. 1, 2, 3. And then one more. 1, 2, and 3. Thank you.
Loving it.
Looking it in there. Did I take my agenda down there?
It's just right there.
Oh. I put my glasses. Oh, getting old now. All right, next up is reports, items, and comments from mayor and town council. We will start to my far right with Councilman Rivero.
Excuse me, Mr. Mayor? You missed public comment.
I did, I'm sorry. I couldn't even find my glasses, so, I'm not sure what I'm doing up here, but, all right. Next up is public comment. Public comment is an opportunity for town residents and other interested individuals to speak about items not on the agenda. This comment period is limited to 30 minutes total time, with each individual allowed for a maximum of 3 minutes to speak. We ask that you sign up ahead of time, and then if there's more public comment at the end of after 30 minutes, we'll follow that up at the end of the meeting. So we've received no public comments either in written form or on the sign-up sheet, but if there's any member of the public wishing to make a public comment, please come forward. All right, seeing none, we'll move on now to reports, items, and comments. Councilman Rivero.
Nothing more to report. You reported this morning, we had the interview with Kalia today. I thought it went very well, and it was great to see outside departments talking to our department and finding out what we do so great in Parker. So very, very proud of our department, and look forward to reaccreditation.
Great. Councilmember Pogue.
Yeah, the only meeting I had was with Councilmember Barrington and town staff regarding the foundation for the Parker Foundation. So we'll see how that comes along. It's coming up before council, I think in the near future, right? Yep, so.
Great. Councilman Hendricks.
As pretty much all of us here enjoyed the mayor's lighting last week, and also participated in Small Business Saturday, and that's it.
Great. Councilman Dyak.
Thank you very much. I went over to Lone Tree for their Schweiger Ranch Austrian Christmas with the family. Just a little nice solstice over in Lone Tree.
Building bridges.
Yeah. Yeah. And it was just some transportation talk with staff in preparation for our Dr. Cox call for project submittal, and E470 has a board meeting this Thursday, so a little bit of agenda prep work at that point in time today. That's all, Mayor.
Great. Councilmember Barrington.
Yep. I'll just pass because everything I did has already been talked about. Thanks.
Great. Councilmember Hefta.
Well, was I the only one working this week besides the mayor? I'm just kidding. Okay. So we had the mayor's tree lighting, which we all attended, which was fantastic. Thank you to all the staff of Parker, the contractors, the sponsors, and everyone who made that a wonderful event. A lot of people really love that. I did a ride-along with the Parker Police Department on November 29th. And thank you, Chief Serapis and Officer Todd Shoup. And I met some wonderful officers along the way. And can I say that was fun, by the way? If you ever get a chance to do that, it's a fascinating thing to watch our police officers in action. Really, in my opinion, they're like their own mini commanders when they take a call. And they're highly trained and intelligent. And they're not running around Parker trying to catch speeders. They're trying to catch criminals. So let's keep that in mind. That really, really is important. So that was a wonderful thing to do on the ride-along. I also attended and participated in the Colorado Municipal League governance workshop on December 1st for several hours. And that's very interesting. And that involves all of the counties in Douglas County that participated in that, and many more in the state as well. And then I attended and participated in the Colorado Municipal League Policy Committee meeting, where across the state, again, all members, all elected officials attended. And we talked about upcoming legislation for the 2023 season here in January with the State House. And we voted on issues to either oppose or support or ask for more information. And so those lobbyists will go ahead and represent the Colorado Municipal League. And so that was very interesting as well.
Great. Thank you, ma'am. And just for me, obviously the mayor's holiday lighting is always a great thing after the day after Thanksgiving, and it was beautiful. I want to thank Michelle, your staff, all the staff, the PD, for keeping us all safe. I think we had upwards estimates. Do I say it? The near the 10,000, yeah, in the town park. So, and just to call out, there's one guy whose job it is to make sure at the count of 10 those lights go on, and his name is Eric. And I met him that day. He was sweating it all day, but the crowd really got him charged up. So, Eric, thank you wherever you're at for that moment. But it was great, and appreciate the council being there too. It was a good evening. All right, next up is the consent agenda. Consent agenda items are considered to be routine and will be enacted with one motion and one vote. There will be no separate discussion of consent agenda items unless council votes to remove an item for individual discussion. Ordinances on the consent agenda are for introduction only and will not be removed for discussion. So, council, you have before you items A through D for your consideration.
Mr. Mayor, I move to approve consent agenda items A through D, please.
Second.
Motion is made by Councilman Rivero, seconded by Councilman Dyak. Rivero?
Aye.
Pogue?
Aye.
Hendricks?
Yes.
Dyak?
Yes.
Barrington?
Yes.
Hefta?
Yes.
And that passes 6-0. Next up on the agenda is the first of our public hearings, and that is on the budgets tonight, both revised budgets and the 2023 budget. So I will open the public hearing on ordinance number 1.567 on second reading, a bill for an ordinance to adopt the 2023 budget and make appropriations for the same at 7:13. Mary Lou Brown and team, you're up. You're welcome. Your voice sounds good tonight.
Yes.
We'll see if we
back
can keep.
to normal.
All right.
We're going to go. First of all, though, I'm going to toot some horns because we don't normally take time to do that. But I want to acknowledge the team that has supported me through the budget. So Jen is here tonight. She has worked tirelessly on the budget and is continuing to work on the budget book, as has Kim Singdalson. And then we have the rest of the finance team that keeps us going. So we have had a great team that's been in place working on the 2023 budget. In addition to that, several of us attended a 3-day training put on by the Government Finance Officers Association, and lo and behold, we are still examples. So the town of Parker still has examples that GFOA uses for how other governmental agencies should be reporting sections of the budget books. So we were very happy to see that still there.
Awesome.
So with that,
Congratulations.
thank you. We are going to move into what I hope is a very brief budget conversation tonight. We have met several times on the budget. This is the second public hearing. So you all have heard a lot about the budget. And knowing that the public also has had the opportunity, the presentation we're going to go over tonight, you're going to see us skip over several slides. But the whole presentation is available out on the internet for anyone who wants to look at it. So I'm going to skip all of the introductory information that we've talked about and how the budget ties into the long-range plan. We're going to just jump into the various funds, the major funds that we budget for during the budget process, and talk about those funds and the numbers, and move on through that. We're going to start with the Parks and Recreation Fund. This fund is the fund that is responsible for all of the construction activities for the Parks and Recreation Department. Their revenue sources are primarily from sales tax, use tax, and then an inter-fund transfer. And most of their expenses then obviously are projects. On the next page, we can see the numbers for the budget as they compare to 2021 and 2022. Revenue we just hit on, the expenditures are typically capital expense. The next page actually then takes a look at the actual individual capital projects that are included in the budget. So there is a total of $9 million in capital projects budgeted for 2023. The Salisbury Park North development and the Harvey open space improvements account for 2/3 of that dollar amount. And the rest of the amounts you can see are in various sizes. The Recreation Fund is the next fund that we're going to take a look at. This is the fund that provides for the operations of our recreational facilities. Most of their revenue comes from charges for services. The gap between the charges for services and the total for the expense is being funded by a transfer from the general fund for 2023. Most of the capital expenditures in this fund are very minimal. They're under $1 million for 2023, and that's because most of the capital is in the Parks and Recreation Fund. Here are the numbers. I'm going to highlight a couple percentages actually here. And so the first one is the percent of expenditures. We did implement this year the process of calculating the cash balance for both the Recreation Fund and the Cultural Fund in the same manner that we do for the General Fund. So you can see those percentage calculations. And then the second one on the chart is the percent of charges for services to total revenue. So you can see that the charges for services are covering about 2/3 of the expense in this fund. The next page takes a look at the capital projects that will reside in this fund. And then we will move on to the Cultural Fund. So the Cultural Fund also operates primarily on charges for services, but they also have revenue that comes in the form of grant funding and a general fund transfer. They also have minimal capital expenditures budgeted for 2023, and the cash balance has been maintained through that transfer from the general fund. The numbers here are presented in the same format as the Recreation Fund, so you can see those same two percentages, the percent of expenditures that are covered by our cash balance, and then also the percent of charges for services to total revenue. Here, that last percentage is below 60%, but we've seen that climb as this part of our organization has still been recovering from the COVID. Our capital is listed here. It's very brief. And with that, we'll move on to our capital projects fund. The first one listed is our Capital Renewal and Replacement Reserve Fund. This is the fund that we are putting money aside into to be able to fund those expansion projects on town-owned buildings. You can see we've had some considerable transfers in that show up on the revenue line. We're seeing that taper off with the 2023 budget, and then also the expenditures are starting to pick up. In 2023, the $8 million is primarily there to fund the design activities and then any potential construction activities that may start. Our next fund is the Public Improvements Fund. This fund is houses all of those activities related to repair and maintenance and building of our roads, bridges, infrastructure. You can see the revenue sources listed there. The project expenditures do total over $40 million, so there's a lot of activity that occurs in this fund. You can see the numbers as they lay out for this fund on this page. We have a little over $14 million in cash projected, budgeted at the end of 2023, with over $25 million of revenue coming in, and then almost $45 million in expenditures. This is a long list, and here I'm going to kind of back up and make a comment I should have on the first capital page. These are listed in the priority order that was established by an interdepartmental group that goes through and does the scoring on each of our projects. So I think to the great need of the town, we have the Dransfeld Road Extension as the #1 priority project, both in this fund, but it also ended up, I think, first overall in the whole town. And that is $20 million of expenditures that are being budgeted for 2023. Our excise tax fund is our next fund, and this houses the revenue that comes in from new development in the form of excise taxes. And then the money that is showing up on the expenditure line goes out for those qualified projects. We have a very strict definition of what our excise tax monies can be spent on, and so we do make sure that those expenditures are in line with that, and we do have to report that to the state on an annual basis. We're going to move into our enterprise fund. The only activity we have in our enterprise fund is our stormwater utility fund. You can see the dollars here. We have a lot of variability in both revenue and expense in this fund, just depending upon the amount of developer contributions and then also the projects that are taking place in this fund on an annual basis. The next page looks at the capital projects that will take place here. And with that, we're going to move forward to the general fund. So the general fund is the fund that houses most of the activities for the town. This is where all of the departmental expenses, such as public safety, which is Public Works and PD, all of the internal service activities, such as HR and finance, reside. So there's a lot of activity that takes place in this fund. First of all, this is the sales tax growth chart. We've taken a look at that in the past. I will tell you that it is now my expectation we will end up the year at 12% annual growth in our sales tax for 2022. I think with inflation continuing to run around 8%, we can kind of think about it as 8% of it is due to that. And then we've got about a 4 or 5% growth rate taking place also. We, because the budget is created so far in advance of tonight, we have both projected for 2022 the 8%, but we've also budgeted 8% for 2023. And as council knows, as any time that money comes in excess, we'll either have a further conversation down the road about how that money will get used, or it falls to the bottom line, which in the world of government, that bottom line is the cash balance, and it will go forward into our cash balance to be used for future one-time items. The next page looks at our top 5 revenues. We've been through this chart several times. Again, our sales tax revenue is key to town operations. It does provide about 70% of our total general fund revenue. The next page is a kind of just a different cut, a different view of our revenue by the different categories that we group our revenue in, with, again, the tax category being the major category. And from there, our total expense, here you can see our main categories that we look at our expenditures in. We have growth of 15% budgeted. That's prior to the transfers out. But that growth rate is representative of the growth in inflation, and then also the increased operational cost as the town continues to come off of some of our activities being on hold from the pandemic. With that, we will move forward to our capital page. The general fund does not have much capital expenditures. Here you can see the items that are budgeted for 2023, and many of them are very small in nature. We are looking at just under $1 million. And then the last page takes a look at our general fund in summary. You can see beginning cash revenue expense. We've itemized out the transfers out so you know where those are going, and our ending cash. We are expecting that with the 2023 budget, we will end with a cash to expense ratio of 38%, which is well in excess of the 25% required that we maintain. That 38% equates to about an extra $6 million that the town could opt to spend as we go through 2023. I will tell you now that I'm pretty sure we will be back in front of you very soon to bring forward a budget amendment that will be increasing some of our project costs for 2023 and utilizing some of that $6 million. So with the continued growth in inflation, we are feeling very good about having some money sitting there waiting for some of our projects. It is sitting in the general fund because that is the fund that is most flexible. I didn't want to move it into any of our other funds where the usage is much more limited, and we might find ourselves in a situation where that's not really where we needed it. So it is residing here with the intention of a good portion of it will probably be used as the year moves on. And with that, Mayor, that's the end of the presentation.
Great, thank you. Excellent presentation. I'll start to my left with council questions. Councilman Dyak?
No questions. I mean, Mary Lou, as you've indicated, we, council, has seen this at least 3 or 4 times. We spent a fair amount of time on it. Appreciate the efforts of your staff. We understand the challenges. I mean, it sounds great, the revenue side growth, but from an expense standpoint, there are just some things that we have not realized yet that are forthcoming. Knowing the transportation inflation being at 25%, give or take, our projects that are currently on the docket that we've programmed in, we just don't know what they'll come in at. It's a best guess. So good to have a little bit of cushion there to have just in case those engineering estimates are not in line with our opening bids. So appreciate your efforts. Thank you.
Councilmember Barrington?
No questions, thank you.
Councilmember Hefta?
Yes, just, Mary Lou, just on the growth rate, the 4 to 5% growth rate, you said that's an estimate right now in the town?
Yes, so that is what we're budgeting for growth.
Do you expect that number to sort of stay the same, go up?
My crystal ball is very foggy at this point, so we'll see as the year kind of opens up and starts to roll out.
And just a word on the inflation issues that we're experiencing right now, which affect the budget.
So our general inflation rate is continuing to run around 8%. We are seeing it start to tick down according to the experts in that area. So we'll see if it continues to do that. It hasn't been enough for us to see much of a change yet at this point. But again, we will, I think we're positioned well if that continues as we go through 2023.
Thank you.
Councilman Hendricks?
No questions.
Councilmember Pogue?
I just want to say thank you. You guys, I know, put tons of work into this. And we've, asked many questions, which require you to go back and make changes. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Councilman Guerrero?
I just want to invite our incredible dispatchers to have a seat. Got a few hearings in front of you, and you guys are making me nervous. Yeah, come please join us. Because we got a couple budget hearings, and then we got a land use hearing. So please sit down, join us. If you could, I noticed a few ending fund balances, cash balances, were maybe a little bit lower than we anticipate or than we would like. Can you just talk about that for just a second?
Sure. I think those lower fund balances, one of them is in our Public Improvements Fund. It's one of the lower balances that we've seen there over the years. But we have cash sources that are available to assist if we need that. I'm not worried about any of our budgeted projects not being funded for next year. I think we do have the flexibility built in to be able to cover that. We have our 10-year plan in place, and we've talked about that a lot in the past, so I didn't bring that up tonight. But that does give us the guidance as to where the town is headed over the next 10 years, particularly as we get closer to where build-out occurs here in the town. We are expecting that there will be some significant changes in our revenue sources at that point in time. So we've been trying to kind of fine-tune that both last year and this year as we pulled that plan together.
Awesome. Thank you for that.
All right. Council, any other questions? Nope. Nope. All right. With that, I'm going to open up the public hearing to public comment at 7:31. If anyone from the public wishes to make a comment on the 2023 budget, please come forward. All right, seeing none, we'll close the public comment period, and we'll also close the public hearing at 7:31. Council, I'll come back in the same order for any final comments before the vote on this. Councilman Dyak?
I think I used my.
I think you. Do you have a question, though, now?
I don't have a question.
Invert? All right.
That will be out of order. I apologize.
Councilmember Barrington, final thoughts?
And because I am a rule follower and save my comments for when I'm supposed to comment, I just want to thank you guys. I know you've worked so hard, and great job. And I think I said this last time, but it's job security for you.
Mary Lou is like a great, right? Councilmember Hefta.
Yes, we're very fortunate to have our finance department. They're very talented, they're very intelligent, they're very thorough. So thank you very much.
Great. Councilman Hendricks?
Yeah, it's not easy running a town, but we all appreciate your efforts. And even though it's not, I find this interesting. So thank you for you and your team.
Councilmember Pogue?
I'm good, thank you.
All right. Councilman Rivero?
I'll echo everything here. Mary Lou touched on it. I believe yet again you will win some awards, and rightfully so. You guys are outstanding, incredible team. I've seen a lot of change in the 10 years that I've sat up here, and just improvements from, everything from priority-based decisioning making to open budget to the budget book to everything you guys have done is just absolutely amazing, and the public is very, very appreciative. Thank you for what you do.
All right. With that, I'll entertain a motion on ordinance number 1567.
I move to approve ordinance number 1.567 on second reading.
A second.
Motion is made by Councilman Hendricks, seconded by Councilmember Hefta. Rivero?
Aye.
Pogue?
Aye.
Hendricks?
Yes.
Dyak?
Yes.
Barrington?
Yes.
Hefta?
Yes.
And that passes 6-0. All right, ordinance number 1.553.2 on second reading, a bill for an ordinance to adopt the 2022 revised budget for the town of Parker and to make appropriations for the same. I'll open the public hearing at 7:33. And Jen, we're going to turn this one over to you.
Great.
All right.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. I started my presentation with now that we've approved the 2023 budget, so thank you for not throwing the entire thing off. So now that we've taken care of 2023, I want to back up a little bit to the ancient year 2022. If you all recall, way back this time last year, you approved that 2022 budget. And we do find that over the year, there are some changes that need to be made to it as circumstances change. And Town Code gives the council the authority to approve these revisions as needed. And I'm going to keep it brief since you guys have all the details in your packet. So tonight we're bringing forward supplemental requests, which are line item additions or increases or decreases in the cases of budget cuts, which we're not bringing forward tonight. The source for funding for supplemental increases is either additional revenue received or the use of available cash. For this revision, the total increase in expenditures is $13.3 million, and this is offset by $16.7 million in additional revenue. So we're looking at new revenues and not the use of cash. All of the items included tonight are either administrative transfers for accounting purposes, or they're projects or programs that are increasing to accommodate additional grants or other outside funding or additional revenues. So that's how we have the offset to the expenditures and revenues. The largest item on the list is an $11.5 million transfer from the general fund to the capital renewal and reserve replacement fund. We were just talking about how all the projects are getting more expensive. So we're doing this additional set aside of available funding for the projects, those expansion projects that are in our facilities master plan. Seeing the inflationary costs in the other public works projects, we anticipate that we're going to need more funding for those projects that have been identified. So while we have it, we're setting it aside for that purpose. Overall, the net impact of this revision is a $3.4 million increase in revenues over expenditures. And that's all I have for you tonight, but I'll take any questions.
Great. We'll go back in reverse order this time for questions. Council, we'll see if they can get their questions and comments straight tonight. Councilman Rivero.
No questions, Mr. Mayor.
Councilmember Pogue.
No questions.
Councilman Hendricks.
No questions.
Councilman Dyak.
No questions or comments.
Councilmember Barrington.
No questions, thank you.
And Councilmember Hefta.
So, yes. Just for the record, how many times do we actually have to do supplemental amendments over the past many years? Is that normal to do supplemental amendments?
We've typically, since I've been on board, been doing it on an annual basis. We have not been doing anything mid-year. So most of our changes are such that we can keep them and roll them through at the same time that we're bringing the 2023 budget or the next year budget forward.
And the supplemental amendments, could you give me the top 3 reasons why you actually have to do them? Inflation would be one, costs of labor, goods go up, right?
Yeah, so there could be price increases in projects or things that weren't anticipated at budget time that come up that need to be funded. Also, sometimes we receive additional revenues, so a developer contribution or a grant, and for us to be able to spend that money, we need to appropriate it in the budget. So just because we receive the revenue in doesn't automatically mean that we can spend it unless council approves. And then in some cases, there just need to be some administrative changes, like between funds or budget changes to get things into the route account number.
Thank you very much.
Great. With that, we'll open this up for public comment at 7:37. Anyone from the public wishing to make a comment on the revised budget? Seeing none, we will close that, and we'll close the public hearing at 7:37 and bring it back to council for final comments. Councilman Rivero?
I just want to say thank you, Ms. Campbell. Well presented, well done. Finished out a good year. Appreciate your work.
Great. Councilmember Pogue?
Thank you as well, but I have no further comments.
Councilman Hendricks?
Ditto.
Councilman Dyak?
No comments, thank you.
Councilmember Barrington?
Again, thank you very much.
And Councilmember Hefta?
Thank you all. Thank you.
Great. With that, I'll entertain a motion on ordinance number 1.553.2.
Mr. Mayor, I move to approve ordinance number 1.553.2 on second reading.
I'll second that.
Motion is made by Councilman Rivero, seconded by Councilmember Pogue. Rivero?
Aye.
Pogue?
Aye.
Hendricks?
Yes.
Dyak?
Yes.
Barrington?
Yes.
Hefta?
Yes.
And that passes 6-0. Thank you both very much. All right, now's the time if you need to take a potty break. I got a lot of reading to do here on this one. So the next item is a public hearing on Hess Ranch, and I'll go ahead and open that public hearing at 7:38 p.m. We've got 4 parts to this. So this is the location generally located west of Chambers and north of Spirit Trail Parkway. Resolution number 22-070, a resolution to consent to the assignment and assumption agreement, Looking Glass by and between LB Parker Owner LLC and VPDF LG LLC. We have ordinance number 3.315.4 on second reading, a bill for an ordinance to amend the Hess Ranch Development, Town of Parker, Colorado PD Development Guide, Third Amendment, and to approve the North Parcel Development Plan, Amendment number 4 pursuant to the Town of Parker Land Development Ordinance and amending the zoning ordinance and map to conform therewith. Third, we have a second amendment to the annexation agreement. And lastly, we have a resolution number 22-041, a resolution to amend resolution number 19-028, series of 2019, to allow, subject to the satisfaction of certain conditions, a partial waiver to defer compliance with certain requirements of sections 13-07.060 and 13.07.070 of the Parker Land Development Ordinance as amended, associated with the processing of the sketch and preliminary plan for certain segments of the real property commonly known as the Hess Ranch property until those segments are ready for development. Bryce, you win the day for the longest one I've had to read in.
Thank you, Mayor.
Go ahead and take it away.
Thank you, Mayor, members of council. As noted before you this evening are 4 interrelated items: proposed Hess Ranch PD zoning, Fourth Amendment, a Second Amendment to the Hess Ranch Annexation Agreement, Hess Ranch Partial Waiver Amendment, and an assignment and assumption. The applicant has provided documentation that required public notice has been provided. The subject property is located south and west of the intersection of Stroh Road and Crowfoot Valley Road. The school site, reserved via the Hess Ranch PD zoning, is proposed to be relocated to the west side of the development and would be developed with a future phase of Looking Glass. You can see on the graphic there the circle proposed site. The applicants are requesting the approval of a zoning amendment to the Hess Ranch PD to respond to concerns expressed by the Douglas County School District about the developability of the current school site proposed in the PD. The applicants have agreed to pursue a zoning amendment to change the school site to a more desirable and developable site. Currently, the school site is in planning area 19 and is 11.38 acres. The school site would be relocated to PA 31, again on the west side of the property to the left, and would maintain the exact same acreage of 11.38 acres. The previous school site will be added to the community park designated as Planning Area 18, currently 12.76 acres, creating a new 24.14 acre community park with both passive and active amenities. The 70 dwelling units previously proposed within PA 31 are proposed to be reallocated within other planning areas in in segment 1 and segment 2 of Looking Glass. Included in the proposed unit reallocation is the addition of 16 units to the Looking Glass Filing 8 planning area, which will be considered later on tonight's agenda. There are no changes in the overall densities within the PD, and there are no changes with the overall number of dwelling units within the PD. It's just a reallocation. There are 9 criteria used to evaluate a rezoning. These criteria ensure that a need exists, the proposal is consistent with the master plan, and there are adequate services to serve the proposed site. The rezoning is needed to relocate the school site in the PD. The rezoning does not change the overall density or overall number of units and conforms with the master plan. It does not reduce open space and in fact increases the amount of park space. After evaluating the zoning information, staff has determined that the proposal meets the 9 approval criteria set forth in the Land Development Ordinance. With the moving of the school site, there are minor amendments required to the Hess Ranch Annexation Agreement and the partial waiver to address the new school site location and phasing. Also proposed is an assignment and assumption related to the transfer of the property from LB Parker Owner LLC to VPDF LLC. This assignment and assumption will ensure that the development rights and obligations transfer to the new owner. Staff has reviewed the proposal and has determined that the project is consistent with the master plan. Utility providers have confirmed capacity and availability. All referral agency comments have been addressed, and the public notice requirements have been satisfied. As noted, there are 4 interrelated motions before you tonight. Staff recommends that Town Council approve Resolution 22-070 regarding the assignment and assumption for the Looking Glass development, the Second Amendment to the Hess Ranch Annexation Agreement, and Resolution 22-041 regarding amending the Looking Glass partial waiver resolution. Staff and the Planning Commission recommend Town Council approve the Hess Ranch PD 4th Amendment. This concludes staff's report. As always, I'm available for questions. Also, Karen Henry is here on behalf of the applicant and has a presentation as well.
Great.
Thank you.
Thanks, Bryce. We'll start off with staff questions first before we get to the applicant. Councilman Hendricks, any questions?
No questions.
Councilmember Pogue?
No questions.
Councilman Rivero?
No questions.
Councilman Dyak?
No questions, thank you.
Councilmember Barrington?
No questions.
Councilmember Hefta?
No questions.
Great. All right, would the applicant please come up, and if you will, state your name and address for the record?
little short.
That's okay, pull it down. Pull it down where you're comfortable. I have the same problem, so.
Good evening, Mayor, members of council. For the record, my name's Karen Henry with Henry Design Group, 1501 Wazee Street, Suite 1C, Denver. We're planners and landscape architects and have been providing design services on Looking Glass since 2017. Hard to believe. Here with me this evening are Matt Childers with Dreamfinders Home, the applicant, Eric McDaniel with EMK Consultants, our civil engineer, and Matt Thomas and CJ Kirst representing KB Home, the builder, filing 8. First of all, I'd like to thank you for allowing us to present the next portion of Looking Glass this evening. I would also like to thank town staff for working with us through the entitlement process. It's been a long journey. Bryce's presentation was very thorough, so I'm just going to ask to see if you guys have any questions and respectfully request your approval this evening.
Great. We'll get to your questions right now. It's in the same order. Councilman Hendricks?
No questions.
Councilmember Pogue?
No questions.
Councilman Rivero?
Just real quick, the impetus, if you will, for this is an ask from the school district.
That is correct.
Can you touch on that a little bit for us, please?
Sure. They had several site visits, and we went out to the site with them, and there's a lot of topography for the place that the school was to be located. And then they selected a site further west next to the community park in Planning Area 31, much flatter, much easier to build. So that was the request.
And then the space in Planning Area 18 that the school district is vacating will be added to the park space as open space?
Well, kind of.
Okay.
They're side by side like this. The area that is more to the south along Spirit Trail Boulevard will be the active park area.
Okay.
And then the area to the north paralleling Brandy Gulch will be more, that's where it was steeper and more trees and stuff. That's where the passive open space will be.
And how long is that open space? How long will that open space be around? Forever?
Yes.
Yes.
Not sure I was following it.
Thank you. That's all my questions.
Councilman Dyak?
No questions. Thank you very much.
Councilmember Barrington?
Nope, it was a thorough presentation. Thank you.
Great. Councilmember Hefta?
Just want to thank you for working cooperatively with the school district on resolving this issue and moving it. Education is important in Douglas County, and our public schools are as well. So thank you for taking the time to work with them and to move it and to accommodate that request.
Our pleasure. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, ma'am. Appreciate it. Karen, and with that, we're going to open this up for public comment at 7:48. Anyone wishing to make public comment on this? Seeing none, we'll close it at 7:48 and close the public hearing on this at 7:48. Bring it back to the council for any final comments or debate. Councilman Rivero?
I will echo Councilwoman Hefta's comments. I appreciate you rising to meet the needs of Douglas County School District. Both this project and your neighbors to the north have been incredibly accommodating to a dynamic situation, whether it's a school district or it's a fire district or whatever it is, and I truly appreciate that. That's what makes us Parker. I appreciate you setting the example for future builders, and I thank you for listening to the needs. I find a couple criteria, and again, I want to talk about your answers to approval criteria of rezoning. I thought they were very thorough. I appreciate that. I especially appreciate the answer to the second criteria. This particular ground is indeed the correct site for the proposed development. Again, a very, very thorough answer, and I appreciate you taking the time to address all of different districts. So I feel that you definitely answered criteria 1, criteria 2, and obviously the criteria 9 with the master plan. So thank you very much for your well thought out answers. I find that this is in line with the rezoning ad and the resolutions accompanying.
Councilmember Pogue?
I would agree with Councilmember Rivera, and I think it looks good to me. I appreciate them working with the school district.
Councilman Hendricks?
I appreciate your efforts as well. Thank you.
Councilman Dyak?
Yeah, thank you, staff, for the very complete presentation in the packet. Answered all questions, and I concur with my fellow council members. Thank you.
Councilmember Barrington?
I also agree that it meets the 9 criteria. minimal environment, actually, and it increases open space. So I think this is, I appreciate everybody's efforts. Thank you.
Councilmember Hefta.
Thank you for a thorough application and a well-written application.
Great, Council. With that, we're going to get through 4 motions here. I'll entertain a motion on resolution number 22-070.
I move to approve resolution number 22-070.
Second.
Moved by Hendricks, second by Rivero. Rivero?
Aye.
Pogue?
Aye.
Hendricks?
Yes.
Dyak?
Yes.
Barrington?
Yes.
Hefta?
Yes.
And that passes 6-0. Next up is ordinance number 3.315.4.
I move to approve ordinance number 3.315.4 on second reading.
Second.
Motion by Dyak, second by Rivero. Rivero?
Aye.
Pogue?
Aye.
Hendricks?
Yes.
Dyak?
Yes.
Barrington?
Yes.
Hefta?
Yes.
And that passes 6-0. Next up is on the Second Amendment to the annexation agreement.
Mr. Mayor, I move to approve the Second Amendment to the amended and restated Stroh Ranch Hess Annexation Agreement, Southern Property.
I'll second that.
A motion is made by Rivero, seconded by Pogue. Rivero?
Aye.
Pogue?
Aye.
Hendricks?
Yes.
Dyak?
Yes.
Barrington?
Yes.
Hefta?
Yes.
And that passes 6-0. And last is resolution number 22-041.
I move to approve resolution number 22-041.
Second.
And that was Laura. Motion is made by Hendricks, seconded by Hefta. Rivero?
Aye.
Pogue?
Aye.
Hendricks?
Yes.
Dyak?
Yes.
Barrington?
Yes.
Hefta?
Yes.
And that passes 6-0. Thank you all very much for that. Next up is a public hearing on Looking Glass Segment 2A Sketch and Preliminary Plan. So open up the public hearing at 7:52 on that. And Bryce, you're going to continue with us on this one.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Thank you, Mayor and members of council. Before you this evening is a Looking Glass Segment 2A Sketch and Preliminary Plan. The applicant has provided documentation. The required public notice has been provided. The subject property is currently undeveloped and is directly west of Segment 1 of Looking Glass and has additional undeveloped land to the west for future phases of Looking Glass. The sketch and preliminary plan for Segment 2A is an approximately 345.5 acre site, undeveloped and located west of Spirit Trail Boulevard. The sketch and preliminary plan requests approval of 658 residential lots, 2 commercial tracts, approximately 24 acres, approximately 53.5 acres of open space, approximately 31.5 acres of parks, and 2 future residential tracts, tracts A1 and A2. Also included in this proposal is an extension of Chambers Road and Stroh Road from where they currently intersect Spirit Trail Boulevard to a future intersection of Chambers Road and Stroh Road. 4 neighborhood parks, a community park, trails, and open space are being provided consistent with the LDO and the PD zoning requirements. The development is providing 15.726 acres of park space, the development is required to provide 15.726 acres of park space and is providing 31.5 acres of park space, so additional park space. The development will include several park amenities to satisfy the required park dedications, including a 25.7 acre community park. The park area will consist of both active and passive elements, including sports fields, dog parks, basketball courts, playgrounds, shelters with seating, ping pong tables, sledding hill, barbecues, and gardens. The sketch and preliminary plan, as noted earlier, will reserve 53.847 acres of open space. The sketch and preliminary plan for Segment 2A includes a regional trail in Brandy Gulch, which has local trails accessing the adjoining neighborhoods and provides access to the community park. It also has underpasses at both Chambers Road and Spirit Trail Boulevard. Staff has reviewed the proposal and has determined that the project is consistent with the master plan. All plating requirements of the PD and land development ordinance have been met. The proposal has adequate access, infrastructure, drainage facilities, and design considerations. Utility providers have confirmed capacity and availability. All referral agency comments have been addressed or will be addressed at the time of final plat. Public notice requirements have been satisfied. Based on staff's review, staff and the Planning Commission are recommending that the Town Council approve the sketch and preliminary plans for Looking Glass Segment 2A, subject to the conditions in the staff report. This concludes staff's report. As always, I'm available for any questions. As well, again, Karen Henry is here with a presentation as well.
Great. Thanks, Bryce. We'll start off with Councilmember Hefta.
No questions, but thank you for your very thorough presentation, Bryce.
Okay. Councilmember Barrington.
No questions for staff, but we'll get a chance.
Karen will be up, yep. All right. Councilman Dyke.
No questions, thank you.
Okay. Councilman Hendricks.
No questions.
Councilmember Pogue.
Yeah, just two. Based on the acreages that you've been mentioning, one is a community park, right? For community use?
Correct. There's one community park and 4 neighborhood parks.
Out of the projects we're looking at under Looking Glass, is there a high school site?
There is a high school site proposed on the development to the north in the Tantera Anthology North development, but not in Looking Glass Hess Ranch.
All right, thank you.
Yep.
And Councilman Rivero.
So there's a gorilla in the room, and the utilities are in the conditions. Has that been addressed by the utility as far as a referral letter back, or are we expected to go forward with what is acceptable in the town of Parker?
So we will continue to work with CORE regarding the front utility easements. We've met with them, as I believe you're aware, and we are kind of working towards solutions regarding the code amendment and how this project and other projects will comply.
Excellent, thank you.
All right. From the development team, Karen. If you'll state your name and address for the record and.
Sure. For the record, my name's Karen Henry with Henry Design Group, 1501 Wazee Street, Suite 1C, Denver, Colorado 80202. Again, Bryce was quite thorough, but I do have a presentation, sorry. The same cast of characters I mentioned earlier are behind me to assist should you have any questions from the development team. I put down her signs.
Right, Carol.
This slide indicates the PD amendment for which is under consideration this evening. The preliminary plan was designed to be in compliance 100% with this PD amendment that is proposed. This, as you're aware, Looking Glass was divided into 3 separate segments, as indicated here. Under consideration this evening is segment 2A, highlighted. Overall, there's a total of 678 DUs in this segment, which was approved. Segment 1 has 678 dwelling units, which was approved by the town in 2019. 896 dwelling units are proposed in segment 2A, and 899 DUs are proposed in segment 2B that will hopefully be before you within the next year. The total number of dwelling units within Looking Glass is 2473 as permitted by the annexation agreement. We will not be exceeding that. This map is a context map indicating how the Looking Glass neighborhood fits into the overall community. The map shows other neighborhoods that are either existing or underway in the town of Parker. This is intended to show a broad picture of the Parker environs in this western portion of the town. The overall development plan illustrates the existing and proposed development for segments 1 and 2. It gives you a complete picture of the lotting patterns as of today and how segment 1 relates to segment 2 and the future segment 2B. This is a blow-up of the preliminary plan for segment 2A. There are 658 single-family detached dwelling units. PA 12 and 14 are indicated here as mixed-use areas and are proposed for 234 dwelling units. They will be paired homes. However, they are included on the preliminary plat as future tracts, but not included within this sketch and preliminary plan. The parcels are currently in the design process and will be submitted to the town within the next week. The commercial areas indicated on the preliminary plan as lots 659 and 660 will enable future development. These commercial lots will also be included in the Filing 9 final plat. The 678 single-family lots included within Segment 2A range in size from 45 to 65 feet in width and between 110 and 120 feet in depth, providing a variety of home products for the future home buyer. This image provides a better overview of the single-family lots, road network, parks, and open space. As we move forward with the community, we anticipate the development submittals and construction will occur per the filings illustrated in this slide. The sequencing of the final plats will be similar to what's indicated. The important component of this slide is the orange area, which indicates Filing 9, which includes the primary road infrastructure, and in blue, which includes the community park. This slide illustrates the key component of Segment 2 preliminary plan. A high priority for the town is to complete the extension of Chambers Road. The area outlined in red are the limits of Filing 9 and Segment 2A. This will be the first final plat and construction plan submitted to the town. The road outlined in purple are included within Filing 9. The blue lines indicate the roads that were constructed and completed with Segment 1, and the orange line is a continuation of Chambers through Anthology to Hess Road, which we understand to be currently in the design process. Additionally, Chambers Road through the trails of Crowfoot, shown in the bottom corner of this slide, is substantially complete. Overall, this road network is coming together with these developments and will provide a much-needed relief to Parker Road. This is an overall parks, trails, and open space systems for segments 1 and 2. Future trails are indicated for segment B. The regional trail system connects the parks throughout Looking Glass and also connects to the regional trail system within both Anthology and the Trails of Crowfoot. The internal trails provide connections to the neighborhood and the community parks within Looking Glass. This plan illustrates the parks and open space included within 2A. Bryce has adequately indicated the acreages included within this plan. The open spaces associated with Brandy Gulch, they don't have a letter designation up there, will be dedicated with each adjacent filing. The parks are labeled and are referenced in the next slide. The Star will be a community club and pool facility and will be designed and reviewed through the town site plan process. Overall, there's a total of 53.49 acres of open space and 31.46 acres of parks within Segment 2A. Bryce indicated a couple of the amenities, but these renderings indicate the park designs for the neighborhood parks within filings 13, 15, and 18. The parks are designed and the amenities provided are in accordance with the town's design criteria for parks, trails, and open space. These neighborhood parks are intended to provide recreational amenities to residents within a 1/4 mile radius or a 10 to 15-minute walk at the most. The next park shows the community park and is a total of 25.69 acres. And the adjacent open space, kind of highlighted in more paler green, is an additional 12.25 acres. This community park is the core of Segment 1 and 2 neighborhoods. The park will be further defined at the final plat process. However, the plan will include at a minimum ball fields, a dog park, playgrounds, picnic shelters, sport courts, pickleball, and a loop trail connecting to the regional system. Overall, we concur with staff's assessment of the approval criteria for the sketch and preliminary plan for Looking Glass Segment 2A. This concludes our presentation. However, I would like to invite either Eric McDaniel or Matt Childers to add anything I missed. Got anything? Thanks. Thanks for your time, and we respectfully request approval of the sketch preliminary plan this evening. We're more than happy to answer any questions you may have. Thank you for
Thanks,
your time.
Karen. We'll start off with Councilman Hendricks.
No questions.
Councilmember Pogue.
I have a couple.
Yes, ma'am.
In this section of Parker, we start, approaching our view corridors. Are they involved with these particular areas that you're getting zoning for?
That's a really good question. I do not know the answer to that.
Because I've always been a proponent of protecting our views. So how maybe Bryce can answer, how is that being done here?
So when this PD and the zoning was originally created, it contemplated kind of the topography out there and thought about kind of preservation of important areas where there's trees and important areas where there's gulches and kind of important areas to preserve. There's not a view corridor analysis out there, but it was contemplated with the original zoning.
Because those elevations, some of those areas approach the view corridors that need to be protected, and you're saying that an analysis of that has not been done?
So when the original zoning was done, it contemplated the topography over there, but there's no regulation regarding view corridor levels and preservation of specific area for non-development because of elevation, for example.
Ravines and trees and open space, yes.
Yep.
I think the view corridors are even more important, so I'm a little disappointed in that. The other question I have is, what is the density of single-family units per acre? Is that 2.3, 2.4, or higher, 3.5?
Overall?
Primarily, yeah, for the,
So this development is actually split between two planning areas in the master plan. One portion is kind of, we'll call it east of Chambers. That is 3.5 dwelling units per acre. And the other is west of Chambers, that's low-density residential, which is overall 2.2 dwelling units per acre.
okay. And then what, in the higher density areas, what is the distance between single-family structures, lot line to lot line?
So the zoning actually allows to a 0-foot setback.
A what?
0 foot, the existing zoning. I expect with side easements that there'll be 5-foot side easements, so there'll be 10 foot between homes, where they don't share a wall like with a duplex.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Councilman Rivera.
No questions, Mr. Mayor.
Great. Councilman Dagg.
No questions.
Councilmember Barrington.
I'm just, what kind of time delays and expense has LB Parker already incurred due to some of the delays?
She's going to get you down, Matt, so. And Matt, if you'll state your name and address for the record.
Absolutely. Matt Childers with Dreamfinders Homes, 2000 North Clay Street, Denver, Colorado.
Great.
And I'm speaking on behalf of Dreamfinders as well as the owner and applicant of the property. It's been significant, council member. Specifically, the most recent issue with Core, the gorilla in the room, if you will. More or less, we were ready to come present before you guys about June 1st of this year, and have generally been in a standstill since that time. So most recently, that's been the most significant delay. The town has been very helpful in that process. I know you guys have had several workshops. Staff has been wonderful helping us work through a plan. Admittedly, it kind of came out of the blue. Core had approved prior versions of our plans multiple times with the prior regulations. So that was the thing that most caught us off guard, cost us, to your point, 5 to 6 months. But I think we have a game plan that allows everybody to move forward. Prior to that, other miscellaneous delays, but that's the most notable one.
Okay, just one more question on that line. Do you anticipate having to come in front of council for approval for modifications, the way that it's written now for the utility easements?
We do not currently believe we'll need to come back. That's something we'll more fully assess, but we definitely put our best foot forward with town staff as well as core to make sure that what was drafted was something we could live with. So I don't want to say that there's no changes on my behalf. We're changing virtually every single basement plan in our entire plan catalog to allow for us to comply with the, the waiver that, or I guess the regulation that the condition we're gonna comply with, I suppose, in regards to maintaining backyard utilities as often as possible. But I believe we'll be able to comply fully.
So you guys have just been in a holding pattern. But now, hopefully this is going to get resolved and
Yes, we
I
hope
think
so,
that-
yeah. Obviously, anything that the town or town staff could do to help us get back on track would be grateful for. Specifically, I know Chambers is a very important nexus point for the town and everyone around us. So we're excited to get going. We're ready to rock and roll, and we're grateful that we're able to stand before you guys today.
All right, thank you.
Councilmember Hefta.
Thank you. Infrastructure is very, very important whenever we contemplate a development. And so just on that note, could you speak a little bit to the construction of that road and working with our own Tom Williams and Department of Public Works and Engineering here in Parker?
In regards to what that process has been like to work with town
Yes.
staff?
Yes.
I mean, Tom's among the best, if not the finest town engineers we work with. So they've been very gracious. In fact, you guys typically don't accept formal applications until you come to a hearing of this nature for final plats. And the engineering department has been very gracious to work with and has done an initial cursory review. Both Alex and Tom both have been over backwards to help us. So they've been phenomenal.
And how's that road coming along?
As soon as we get the green light on that final and non-final plat, which is the application we should be turning in tomorrow, subject to approval tonight, as soon as we can get that final plat recorded, we're ready to move millions of yards of dirt on this property to build a whole bunch of homes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Talk about the carrot on the string there. All right, thank you both very much. With that, we're going to open this for public comment at 8:13. Anyone wishing to make public comment on segment 2A sketch and preliminary plan? Seeing none, I'll close public comment and close the public hearing at 8:13. Council will bring it back to you. We'll start in reverse order. Councilmember Hefta, any comments?
No, thank you very much.
Councilmember Barrington?
Just a couple. I think that this is been an unfortunate circumstance for a lot of people, and I think it's also apparent that the town does not just rubber stamp everything that comes in front of them, and it's been very time consuming and expensive for a lot of people, and I just hope that now everyone can move forward and we can all just get along.
I knew it was coming. All right. Councilman Diag.
No comments, thank you.
Councilman Hendricks?
No comments.
Councilmember Pogue?
I appreciate your efforts to go along with the town council's earlier decisions of not to allow utility boxes in the front yards. That is a big issue, and that's what's been holding this up. So I appreciate your support on that. Thank you.
Councilman Rivera?
Yeah, I will echo Councilwoman Barrington's and Councilwoman Pogue's comments. I truly appreciate your support on that. I know that you guys are, for lack of better words, the guinea pigs. You were stuck in the middle. You invested millions upon millions of dollars into a project to be held up by bad policy, to be honest. And we just appreciate you sticking with us. I don't think the citizens realize how much of a partnership there is. You guys build the roads, you guys build the parks, but allowing us to maintain what we view as Parker, keeping utilities and things out of the front yards is important to us. And as painful as it was, we truly, truly, truly appreciate you guys working with us. In front of us tonight are 5 factors. The first is consistency with the master plan. I find that you are consistent with the master plan. The second is consistency with the LDO. You're definitely consistent with the LDO. Third, it's important. Fourth is previous plans. Are you consistent with previous plans? I appreciate your maps. I like pictures, but what those did show was exactly that. You are consistent with previous plans and definitely have met that. And then staff has stated that you have met your public notice requirements. I'm in improvement of this sketch and preliminary plan.
With that, I'll entertain a motion on the segment 2A sketch and preliminary plan.
I move to approve the requested Looking Glass Segment 2A sketch plan and preliminary plan application subject to the 9 conditions outlined in the request for Town Council action report.
Second.
Motion by Dyak, second by Hendricks. Rivero?
Aye.
Pogue?
Aye.
Hendricks?
Yes.
Dyak?
Yes.
Barrington?
Yes.
Hefta?
Yes.
And that passes 6-0. Next up is the Looking Glass filing 8 sketch and preliminary plan, and I'll open the public hearing at 8:16 on that. And Bryce, you're still with us? All right.
I am still here. Thank you, Mayor, members of council. As noted, before you tonight is Looking Glass Filing 8 sketch and preliminary plans. The applicant has provided documentation that required public notice has been met. The subject property is located south and east of the intersection of Stroh Road and Spirit Trail Boulevard. For context, here is a map showing Looking Glass 1 currently under construction and Looking Glass 2A with Filing 8 there circled in the middle. The approximately 19 and a half acre Looking Glass Filing 8 site is again located at the southwest corner of Stroh Road and Spirit Trail Boulevard. The parcel is currently undeveloped and the last parcel to be developed within the segment 1 of Looking Glass. The sketch and preliminary plans request approval of 106 residential lots for paired homes and 11 tracts. Filing 8 corresponds with PA 6 in the PD and allows for residential duplex or paired home development. The PD zoning Hess Ranch Amendment 4, approved earlier tonight, approves 16 additional units to be transferred to this planning area for a maximum of 106 units. The approved and under construction development of Looking Glass Segment 1 planned for and provided for infrastructure, roadway, and parks requirements for the proposed Filing 8. There are 694 dwelling units in Looking Glass Segment 1, which includes Filing 8. Based on code requirements for parks dedications, a total of 16.59 acres of park space is required in Segment 1. Filings 2 through 7 have already provided a total of 17.04 acres in parks, so no further park requirements is required in Filing 8. In addition, within the original preliminary plan, there are 2 parks adjacent to the site in Filing 5 that are under construction. Staff has reviewed the proposal and has determined that the project is consistent with the master plan. All plating requirements of the PD and land development ordinance have been satisfied. The proposal provides adequate access, infrastructure, drainage facilities, and design considerations. Utility providers have confirmed capacity and availability. All referral agency comments have been addressed or will be addressed at the time of the final plat, and the public notice requirements have been satisfied. Based on staff's review, staff and the Planning Commission recommend Town Council approve sketch and preliminary plans for Looking Glass Filing 8. As always, I'm available for any questions you may have, and again, Karen Henry is here on behalf of the applicant to speak.
Okay, we'll
Thank
get
you.
her up here one more time. All right. Councilman Dyak, you want to start us off on questions?
I have no questions for Mr. Matthews.
Great. Councilmember Barrington?
No questions, thank you.
Councilmember Hefta?
I was just reviewing the history on the zoning ordinances of this particular piece of property. So can you tell us a little bit more about that? This looks like it dates back to 1984. Is that right, Bryce?
Yes, this site was annexed, portion of it was annexed into the town in 1984. And then a portion was later in 2002, I think, I want to say. There have been a number of different zoning changes within this, generally based on the same predication, based on the same master plan requirements, meets the master plan. Each version did. Some of it was related to litigation, foreclosures. There's a long story there.
And just a follow-up question, it looks like it was always zoned for residential and some commercial uses, is that right?
The PD was, yeah, it was always a combination of residential with commercial near the intersections, so.
It was a good year. I graduated high school that year. Thanks.
Councilman Hendricks?
No questions.
Councilmember Pogue?
No questions.
Councilman Rivera?
I appreciate Councilwoman Hefta's question. Can you just go back and talk about the PD? The densities that existed back then are pretty much, for the most part, the same densities that exist today, correct?
Pretty much. There have been variations over time with master plans becoming more specific, but the number of units have been very similar through time.
Thank you. All right, Karen, you want to come back up for one last time? Come on. And again, if you'll state your name and address for the record.
Thank you. For the record, Karen Henry, Henry Design Group, 1501 Wazee Street, Suite 1C, Denver, Colorado 80202.
Oh, clicker.
Thank you. Okay, let's see here. Indicated here in the red bubble, filing aid is located within segment 1 at the southeast corner of Stroh Road and Spirit Trail Boulevard. This illustrates the relation of the filing within and to both filings 2A and segment 1. This slide further illustrates the location of filing 8 and how it fits seamlessly in with the surrounding filings which are currently under construction. The proposed homes are compatible with both the adjacent filings number 4 and number 5, which are in segment 1. Filing 8 contains a total of 106 paired homes. Each half of the home sits on its own fee simple lot. The lots are designed to either front a public street or green court. Each home is served from a private drive to the rear loading garage. Each home has a 2-car attached garage and a 2-car full driveway apron, providing 4 parking spaces for each home. In addition to resident parking, guest parking is permitted on the public streets and in the 42 off-street parking bays. Common open space and landscape areas are provided throughout the neighborhood that will be owned and maintained by the HOA or Metro District. The site and proposed number of dwelling units, as Bryce mentioned, were included in the parkland dedication provided throughout segment 1. This slide shows the relationship and proximity of the 2 parks within filing 5, which are currently under construction. Residents within filing 8 will have access to these parks as well as to all parks within Looking Glass. Overall, we concur with staff's assessment of the approval criteria for filing 8 sketch and preliminary plan. This concludes our presentation. However, I'm going to ask representatives from KB if they have anything to add. Thank you. Again, thank you for time, and we respectfully request approval of the sketch preliminary plan for filing 8. We're more than happy to answer any questions you may have. Thanks
Someone
for your
will
time.
ask a question to get him down here. Don't worry.
Please do.
They're working on it already. Councilman Dyak, let's see if it's you.
That can't get off that easy, right?
Exactly.
I just have comments, so I'll refrain.
Okay. Councilman Barrington?
So Councilmember Hefta asked one of the questions that I was wanting to ask about how long this has been in the works. In 1984. Seems like a long time. Do you think if 2008, the downturn wouldn't have happened, do you think that this whole development might have already been completed?
I don't think so. I think that was just a speed bump, but
But it would be probably further along the path than it is right now.
Potentially, but not significantly so. I think that they were still working out some of the legal issues during that time frame.
Thank you.
Councilmember Hefta?
No questions.
Great. Councilman Hendricks?
No questions.
Councilmember Pogue?
No questions.
Councilman Rivero?
No questions.
All right. He got off the hook. All right. With that, we're going to open up the public comment at 8:25. Anybody wishing to make a public comment on filing 8, sketch and preliminary plan? Seeing none, we'll close that and close the public hearing at 8:26. Council will bring it back in the same order for final comments. And I know you have one, Councilman Dyak.
Yeah, no, I mean, just taking the thunder out of Councilmember Rivera, I believe, after review of all 5 criteria, this project has met those, so appreciate the efforts of our staff as well as the applicant, and looking forward to approve this. Thank you.
Great. Councilmember Barrington?
Yeah, I'm late to the party on this one, but I know it's been in the works for a long time, so I'm ready to approve it as well.
Great. Councilmember Hefta?
Yes, thank you for your hard work and meeting the approval criteria and all the delays you've had to encounter, the negotiations you've had to engage in, and just the lack of a better word, snafus you've encountered on this project. This is a long time in coming, and as I have said before, most folks don't realize that the developments we see in town now that are being developed were planned for decades previously. This is not just something that a 10-year town council has been approving. Some of these developers have been working for decades to get approval, to overcome hurdles, to get their developments on these sites. And they've bought this land, and this is private property, and now they're developing it. And Parker's a wonderful town to call home because we have all the amenities here. We have the water, we have the parks, we have the schools. And yeah, we need to do some work on the road systems and continue that great work that our engineers and our public works are doing. But Parker's a great place to call home, and we're happy when developers can get their plan off the ground and get their projects moving.
Great. Councilman Hendricks?
No comment.
Councilmember Pogue?
Well, having been involved with the Healy Brothers back in 1984, and a lot of their planning that went through that process, and the sale and resale and sale and resale of this land, I'm glad you're finally bringing it to fruition, and thank you.
Great. And Councilman Rivera?
No, appreciate Councilman Dyak's statement. What's in front of us is 5 factors. Consistency with the master plan, consistency with the land development ordinance, consistency with the zone districts, consistency with previous plans, and public notice requirements. You have met all 5. Again, my compliments to your application. It was very thorough, and I do appreciate that. If I could comment a little, just think evergreen trees and not deciduous, I'll be even more happy, but I appreciate your work, and thank you for matching the 9 factors.
Great. With that, we will entertain a motion on filing 8, sketch and preliminary plan.
I move to approve the Looking Glass Segment 1, Filing 8, Sketch Plan and Preliminary Plan.
I'll second.
Motion is made by Dyak, seconded by Barrington. Rivero?
Aye.
Pogue?
Aye.
Hendricks?
Yes.
Dyak?
Yes.
Barrington?
Yes.
Hefta?
Yes.
And that passes 6-0. That is the end of our public hearings, but we have ordinances, so don't worry about that. Thank you all very much. All right, first up on ordinances, ordinance number 1.568 on second reading, a bill for an ordinance to levy general property taxes for the year 2022 to help defray the cost of government for the town of Parker, Colorado for the 2023 year budget. Jen, you're back.
I am.
All right.
And since I have to bring every conversation back to the budget, this ordinance and the certification of the mill levy to Douglas County are both part of the annual budget process. It is a requirement if the town is going to be collecting property taxes for next year, for the budget year 2023. So our actual mill levy is going to be remaining the same for 2023. The town requires a vote of the citizens to increase it. And that mill levy is 2.602 mills for the year 2023. This is just a small portion really, of the property tax that a homeowner pays to Douglas County. For context, if a homeowner has a house valued at $500,000, the town of Parker is going to receive $90 out of their total property tax bill. The property tax is one of the major revenue sources in the general fund for the town, and we are expecting to collect about $2.7 million next year. And that's all I have, except to point out that this is actually required to be done by December 15th for us to be able to collect next year.
Great. Thank you, Jen. We'll go to staff questions. Councilman Rivero?
So I just for clarity, we are not raising because we cannot raise. The citizens have to raise. We are maintaining the same mill levy as we have for many, many years, correct?
That is correct.
Councilmember Pogue?
No questions.
Councilman Hendricks?
No question.
Councilman Dyak?
No questions.
Councilmember Hefta?
Can you talk a little bit about the Tabor amendment?
So this particular issue is not part of the Tabor amendment, we believe, because the town is exempted from the Tabor amendment by the voters.
Thank you.
Great. With that, we'll open this up for public comment at 8:31 p.m. Anybody wanting to make a comment on ordinance number 1.568, please come forward. With that, we'll close the public comment period and bring it back to council in that same order. Councilman Rivero, final thoughts?
No comments.
Councilmember Pogue?
Comments.
Councilmember Hendricks?
No comment.
Councilman Dyak?
No comments.
Councilmember Hefta?
No comment.
Great. With that, I'll entertain a motion on ordinance number 1.568.
I move to approve ordinance number 1.568 on second reading.
Second.
Motion is made by Hendricks, seconded by Rivero. Rivero?
Aye.
Pogue?
Aye.
Hendricks?
Yes.
Dyak?
Yes.
Hefta?
Yes.
And that passes 5-0. And just for the record, Councilmember Barrington has left the meeting. Next up is ordinance number 1.561.1 on second reading. A bill for an ordinance to amend ordinance number 1.561, series of 2022, conveying certain real property by easement to the Parker Water and Sanitation District for a portion of Tract B, Mountain View Senior Center, filing number 1, minor development. Mr. Mustang, welcome.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor and Council. Before you tonight is a request from Parker Water to have a minor amendment to an easement that the town dedicated to Parker Water earlier this year. Get this going here. Oh, there we go. Okay. Hit it too many times. So earlier this year, Parker Water requested the dedication of an easement across a town-owned property, Tract B of Mountain View Senior Center, filing number 1. This easement was associated with the proposed development of the adjacent property, which is the Senderos Creek Townhome project. Town Council heard the request on July 6th or June 6th of this year and approved the easement agreement. However, Parker Water subsequently realized that the easement wording didn't meet their needs. It called for a water line. It allowed for a water line to be placed in the easement. They needed a sanitary sewer line. So they've asked us to come back and amend the easement. That is the only change proposed. Everything else will remain the same. Just as a quick refresher, the property location is Mountain View Senior Center became the American Academy Matzenbacher campus. So Tract B is in the southwest part of that property there, adjacent to Matzenbacher Road. It was originally contemplated as a roadway connection through that corner of the property. The road's developed in a different pattern, as you can see. So really, the town has no purpose for that property, so we agreed to grant Parker Water an easement over it. Just a quick blow-up of Tract B. There is easements proposed on the western boundary and then the southern boundary to give them the maintenance room they need for sanitary sewer on both of those sides. So just as a reminder, this easement was originally dedicated as part of an ongoing cooperation between the town and Parker Water. Instead of paying for easements back and forth, we have an ongoing swap of easements and land. The town will have no maintenance responsibilities for any of the sanitary sewer. It will be Parker Water's to maintain. So staff does recommend approval of the proposed ordinance 1.561.1. Thank you.
Great, thanks, sir. We will go for staff questions on this. Councilmember Hefta?
No questions.
Councilman Dyak?
No questions.
Councilmember Hendricks?
No questions.
Councilmember Pogue? And Rivera?
So, no, I'm just kidding. No questions.
You're getting me all off here. All right, with that, we're going to open up for public comment at 8:35. Anyone wishing to make comment on 1.561.1 on second reading? And we'll close it at 8:35 and bring it back to the council in that same order for final comments. Councilmember Hefta
No comments. Thank you for your presentation.
and Councilmember Dyak,
No comments.
Councilmember Hendricks,
No comments.
Councilmember Pogue,
No comments.
Councilmember Rivera.
No comments, Mr. Mayor, if I may, I move to approve ordinance number 1.561.1 on second reading, please.
Second.
We'll give it to Cheryl. Motion is made by Rivera, seconded by Pogue. Rivera?
Aye.
Pogue?
Aye.
Hendricks?
Yes.
Dyak?
Yes.
Hefta?
Yes.
And that passes 5-0. Next up is ordinance number 9.352 on second reading, a bill for an ordinance to approve the intergovernmental agreement by and between the Colorado Department of Transportation and the town of Parker concerning PWQ maintenance and operations responsibilities, Parker Road, Lincoln Avenue to Pine Lane, project number AQC M039-007, parens 24455. MTF M039-009, parens 24467, region number 1, parens VJM. You're going to explain all that, right?
Sure.
All right.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Before you tonight is a request to enter into an intergovernmental agreement associated with the North Parker Road Operational Improvements Capital Roadway Project for water quality maintenance and operations with CDOT. It's been a few months since I've been before you to discuss this project, so just a quick refresher. What we're calling the North Parker Road Operational Improvements Project is stretching from, looking at Parker Road from approximately Parkland Way up to E470. The main purpose of the project is to increase vehicular mobility and safety by doing two things. One is repurposing existing turn lanes into shared through and turn lanes, and then also with select areas of roadway widening to connect lanes through that corridor. The project also supports pedestrian connectivity by connecting sidewalk gaps along this corridor. So just a quick update. We are almost completed with the design phase. The final construction documents are done and ready to go back to CDOT. We're working through the last couple of requirements for CDOT. One of those is utility coordination and right-of-way and easement acquisition. Those also are nearing completion. Ultimately, we anticipate getting final clearance from CDOT in January, after which we can advertise the project for construction. One of the last requirements that CDOT has that they conveyed to us a few months ago is to enter into an IGA, as I mentioned, to codify the maintenance and operation of a proposed water quality device that we're going to have to construct with this project. Without going too far down a rabbit hole into water quality regulations, and essentially the town of Parker is located in what we call the Cherry Creek Basin, so we're required to provide water quality treatment for all new substantial areas of roadway pavement. Luckily, multi-use trails and sidewalks, those can be eligible for exemptions to water quality provision, and we are taking advantage of that here with our sidewalks. But we do have to make sure that all the new roadway we're constructing has water quality treatment before it enters our drainage ways. What we try to do as much as possible is use existing water quality ponds that are adjacent to Parker Road on both sides to take the new flows from these areas of roadway. And we were able to do that almost everywhere, but there was one area of roadway that we couldn't drain to an existing pond, so the plans will include a new water quality structure to treat that. This map shows the location of that one structure. It's on the west side of Parker Road, just south of Ponderosa. There actually is a water quality pond right there on that corner by the gas station, if you can picture it, but the elevations didn't work out. We weren't able to route the flows through that pond. So what the designers propose is something we do quite often. It's basically called a water quality inlet. So it's a precast structure that accepts flows from the roadway. It essentially separates out the roadway pollution, the sediment, the stuff that comes off the road. Outlets clean, the cleaner water after it rises up, and then we're able to go in and suck out the debris later with a vac truck. So that's the type of structure we're going to be using here. And that takes us into the IGA. So CDOT's requiring us to enter into an IGA, again, to make sure that the town is required to maintain and operate this structure going forward. They use the term, we have to maintain it for its useful life cycle. And I think what that means is when it starts deteriorating, due to normal conditions, 20, 25 years down the road, CDOT and the town are required to coordinate on a solution for replacement. But until then, the town is responsible for the maintenance and operation of the structure. And really what all that means is that we're gonna have to go out and do debris removal from the inlet. We currently do that anyways on Parker Road for all the storm sewer. So this is basically adding one other inlet. We have to go out and do debris removal once or twice a year to make sure it functions the way it should. So We're not thrilled from the staff perspective that we're being asked to do this, but really it is kind of a minor thing for us to add to our work plan. We could easily fit it into what we do with our stormwater operations crews. The other thing the IGA requires us to do is just to maintain the existing water quality ponds that we're utilizing for this project. We already do that through the stormwater utility, so that's an easy one for us. So that's all I have. We recommend approval of the water quality IGA. It is one of the last hurdles we have to get over with CDOT to get this project underway. So I'm happy to answer any questions. Thank you.
We'll start with questions from Councilmember Hefta.
No questions.
Councilman Dyak?
No questions.
Councilmember Hendricks?
No questions.
Councilmember Pogue?
I have two.
Okay.
What is the capital cost to the town of Parker? I don't see that from your, it's not laid out, but if I went through it, we were short about $500,000, is that correct?
Are you talking about the entire project budget or just for this water quality structure?
This structure, this agreement right here.
Yeah, so this structure, the engineer's estimate anticipates this being about $20,000 for just a water quality structure. The overall project budget is $5.1 million.
Right, and how much of that is Parker's?
We have $3 million in state, county, and federal funds for the
So
project.
that leaves us with 2.5 million?
Approximately, yes.
And what are the annual maintenance costs that are estimated?
That'd be difficult to do. I mean, we have an annual program where we have right now we rent a vac truck and we use that all over town in select locations. I don't have that figure in front of me, but we do have an annual contract. In the coming years, we're planning to actually purchase a vac truck to bring that in-house and give us more economy of scale. But it's a program we already have, an existing program that we're really adding a very minimal amount of work to.
So this is a state highway, right?
Mm-hmm.
Why are they not contributing more? Why are we contributing so much?
That is a good question. I asked the same question and I was told that is our policy.
It's what?
That is CDOT's policy. For local agency projects, they require the local agency to maintain it.
Okay. Thank you.
Councilman Rivera?
No questions.
All right, with that, we'll open up the public comment at 8:42. Anyone wishing to make public comment on ordinance number 9.352? Seeing none, we'll close it at 8:42 and bring it back to the council in reverse order. Rivera?
As much as I share the same chagrin with staff about CDOT passing the buck, the bright side is we MS4s know what we're doing, and we do it well. Municipal storm sewer, whatever, it's an acronym, but essentially it's the town's storm sewer systems, and the towns and the cities in Douglas County and throughout the metro area. But what I know specifically is the Cherry Creek Basin, they do it very, very well. And it's important because this is what protects our creek and eventually what protects our reservoir downstream. And I as much as I respect CDOT, I would much rather have Parker Stormwater maintaining this structure than CDOT whenever they get around to it. So the cost is there, but the benefit far outweighs the cost, in my opinion. So well done with staff for trying, but I see a bright light here.
Councilmember Pogue?
No questions.
Councilman Hendricks?
No questions.
Councilman Dyak?
Yeah, I mean, I think that the greater project, the genesis of it was because this area of Parker Road was going to operationally fail in terms of grading. So the town of Parker pursued operational improvements within this corridor so we could make road conditions beneficial for not only our citizens but those using Parker Road. It would be fantastic if CDOT would have the funds to take care of their own facilities, but living in the constrained world of constrained finances, they do not. And this is more of an us identifying a micro need at our local level and bring it to CDOT and asking for CDOT concurrence so we could effectively improve their road network. It would be great to get more money, but unfortunately, this is the world we live in. Thank you.
Councilmember Hefta?
Sometimes it's difficult to get these things done, but I note that we've had federal funding, state funding, Douglas County funding, and CDOT funding, and that the cost to the town is minimal. Thank you.
Great. With that, I will entertain a motion on ordinance number 9.352.
Mr. Mayor, I move to approve ordinance number 9.352 on second reading, sir.
Second.
Motion is made by Rivera, seconded by Hendricks. Rivera?
Aye.
Pogue?
Aye.
Hendricks?
Yes.
Dyak?
Yes.
Hefta?
Yes.
And that passes 5-0. The last of our ordinances for tonight, ordinance number 8.33 on second reading. A bill for an ordinance to amend Chapter 4.03 of the Parker Municipal Code to establish an exemption from the town's sales and use tax for certain retail delivery fees and carry-out bag fees enacted by the state of Colorado. Hi, Linda.
Hi, Mayor and Council. Tonight I'm going to be discussing an exemption to our sales tax ordinance. During the 21 session, the Colorado legislature passed 2 fees imposed on the sale of goods.
Hey, Linda, just before you continue, I don't think your mic is on.
It's on, but is that better?
Yes.
Yep.
The retail delivery fee of 27 cents is imposed on goods delivered by a motor vehicle. The disposable bag fee of 10 cents is imposed on each disposable bag provided to carry goods. The bag fee only applies to vendors with multiple locations and does not apply to restaurants. The retail delivery fee and the disposable bag fee are included in the purchase price of goods. Both fees are currently subject to the town's 3% sales tax. Staff is requesting a change to the sales tax ordinance to exempt these fees from the town's sales and use tax of 3%. The fiscal impact of this is estimated to be about $15,500. This time I'll take any questions.
Great. And Linda, just for clarification, this is the newly imposed 27-cent delivery fee that we see on everything. The town of Parker actually taxes that at 3%. So it gets a penny or?
About a penny.
Okay, all right. Councilman Dyak, you want to start on questions?
No questions.
Okay. Councilmember Hefta?
I'm glad we get at least a penny when I see my Amazon bill. Thank you.
Councilman Hendricks?
No questions.
Councilman Pogue?
No questions.
Councilman Rivera?
No question.
We'll open it for public comment at 8:47. Seeing no public comment, we'll close it at 8:47 and bring it back to the council in reverse order. Councilman Rivera?
Yeah, obviously, we can talk about fee versus tax, but I'll just leave it at that. I will not tax a tax, so thank you, state, very, very much, but we'll proudly vote yay in this.
Okay. Councilmember Pogue?
No further comment.
Councilman Hendricks?
No comment.
Councilman Dyak?
Supportive.
Councilmember Hefta?
Yes, I agree with Councilmember Rivera. We will not tax a tax. Thank you.
Great. Well, I think the state's going to give you other opportunities too in the future, so don't, get all excited. But I will entertain a motion on this one right now.
I move to approve ordinance number 8.33 on second reading.
Second.
Motion is made by Hendricks, seconded by Hefta. Rivera?
Aye.
Pogue?
Aye.
Hendricks?
Yes.
Dyak?
Yes.
And Hefta.
Yes.
All right, moving on to our resolutions, and that passed 5-0. Moving on to resolution number 22-063, a resolution to appoint members of the Parker Parks, Recreation, and Open Space Advisory Commission, and to appoint a chair. Mary, you have had a very patient group waiting here all night. Hopefully their meetings will run more smooth than this one does, so.
Yes, thank you, Mayor and Council. Can you hear me? Okay.
Now,
Try that mic button again, please.
Can you hear me now? Can you
Yep.
hear me now?
Yeah.
Okay. So I'm delighted to be here this evening to introduce you to some very talented and probably tired Parker residents. As you are aware, earlier this year, Town Council approved the implementation of the Parks, Recreation, and Open Space Commission. Recently, Parks and Recreation staff, along with council members Rivero and Hendricks, conducted 17 interviews. And of those 17 interviews, we selected 7 very qualified individuals to serve on the commission, beginning their term in 2023. And we were very pleased with the overall response that we got, and very, very qualified candidates out there. So the 7 talented people behind me, who I'm about to introduce, are very deserving of this appointment. And so at this time, I'd like to introduce you. They are all in attendance. I believe they still are. I'm not sure. We could have had a few defectors. But at this time, if you would all come forward as I call your name. Austin Craddock. Andre Tudine. Yeah, just come right up here. Yep, thank you. Candace Sotwick. I apologize if I mispronounce anyone's name in advance. Toby Levy. Jody Walker. Matthew Lunn. And Heather Bennett, who has been selected and accepted the role of chair. Heather is still here.
She ran outside of the meeting.
Okay. So staff is recommending approval of the 7 people that you see before you, but before we get to that, I was wondering if council members Rivero or Hendricks had any comments about the process or anything you wanted to just add about the selection process or otherwise.
No, there was like 17 individuals that decided to step up and apply, and they're all great candidates. But I am pleased with you 7, and
I am pleased with you.
I find favor.
Like this time.
Good job. No, thanks for stepping up, and we look forward to working with you. And it was a great process, just meeting with every one of you. So, take it away.
No. 21 applicants, 17 interviews. Again, the wealth of knowledge and experience in this community, in this county, is insane. How many of you are active users of the Parks and Open Space? And so how many of you actually have Parks and Rec open space experience? Yeah, it's quite a few. You're being very modest. It's a lot, and it's absolutely amazing what we can just tap as volunteers in this community. I look forward to what you guys can do. I'm very, very excited. We've got a great slice. We've got experience, we've got young parents, we've got outdoor users, we've got indoor users. We really got to pick a great group, and I am also very pleased with you.
Stickers later.
So staff is recommending approval of Resolution 22-063.
Great. So, Mary, I like this approach. I like having them line up in front of us. I think we should try this with developers, just stare down the council, right? It's a good approach. But let's go for questions and comments real fast with Councilmember Pogue.
Well, I am absolutely thrilled that you're here tonight. I have been wanting the Parks and Open Space Commission reestablished for a very long time, and you all, I look forward to what you bring to the town. So thank you.
Great. Councilman Dyak?
Yeah, no, I applaud Councilmember Rivero and Hendricks, doing the interviews and trying to pare down a fantastic assortment of people into a workable group is always challenging. I've always been there with other council members, and it's just overwhelming. So we're just so thankful to have this amount of people who are interested to serve their town, and to get to this group is fantastic. Thank you very much.
Great. And Councilmember Hefta.
So I'm on social media a bit, and sometimes I see posts where folks say, "Oh, there's no volunteer opportunities in Parker," and I always correct that. Because I say, no, there's a lot of volunteer opportunities in Parker. There's a lot of volunteer opportunities at our Parks and Rec, and our Parker Arts Center, our police department, our Parker Senior Center, affiliated organization. And all of you have stepped up to give of your time, to take away from your families and your friends, to serve on this board and to help us make better decisions. So thank you for doing that. We really appreciate that, because you are the eyes and the ears, and you're going to come back to us and give us some great recommendations. So congratulations on your appointment. Thank you very much.
Okay. Excellent. With that comment, I am going to entertain a motion on resolution number 22-063.
I'll move to approve resolution
Mr.
number
Mayor.
20.
Whoa. Oh, I'm sorry.
You have to take the voluminous amount of public comment. I'm sure they'll be on this.
Here we go. Hang on. Give me a second. All right. We'll open this for public comment at 8:54. Anyone from the public, including you all, that'd like to make public comments on this?
Any spouses that want to sway us
Yes.
differently?
Seeing none, we'll close it at 8:55. See, a minute passes already. And we will bring it back to the council for a motion. And I think,
Okay, I started, I'll try to finish it this time. I move to approve resolution number 22-063.
A second.
motion is made by Pogue, seconded by Hefta. Rivera?
Aye.
Pogue?
Aye.
Hendricks?
Yes.
Dyak?
Yes.
Hefta?
Yes.
And that passes 5-0. Congratulations to you all. Very much. But don't go away, we're going to get a picture with you. But Madam Chair, just as a point of personal preference, I'll be sending all my recreation and parks open space emails to you from now on. So you can do that. But let's get a picture, everybody.
You're going down.
Oh, we're going down. All of us? You want to go down or you want to stay out?
Are we staying up? All right. Where's he going?
He's got to go.
Spouses get to do this
Our
too.
camera.
Dog and pony show.
All right.
Look happy.
I'll get that. About 20 minutes.
That'll be the official photo. Okay. Chris, are you good? You're good? Okay.
Okay.
Good job.
Thanks, guys. Thanks for your patience.
Too bad they weren't at the top of the agenda. Why can't they be at the top? Some of these people.
All right, next up is resolution number 22-071, a resolution designating emergency communication specialist as first responder. Commander Coleman. Wading through the crowd of public comments.
I got to be honest and upfront. Between the Smarties in the hallway and the monster, I'm ready to go. I'm ready to go.
All right.
Thank you all for allowing me to be here. I'm here seeking approval for the resolution of 22-071. This is a resolution designating emergency communication specialists as first responders. The state of Colorado recognizes the critical role that emergency dispatchers play in saving lives and has enacted legislation to bolster the profession. In 2020, Senate Bill 20-026 focused on reclassifying emergency dispatchers to designate them as first responders, thus improving workers' compensation benefits for mental health care resulting from psychologically traumatic events. This resolution designates our emergency communication specialists as those first responders. The Homeland Security Act of 2022 defines the term first responder as individuals who, in the early states of an incident, are responsible for the protection and preservation of life, property, evidence, and the environment. Emergency communication specialists dispatch law enforcement, fire, and emergency medical services personnel to emergencies and also empathize with callers and help guide them on how to handle life or death situations before police officers, firefighters, and those EMS personnel arrive on scene. Granting these frontline individuals the designation of first responders in communication demonstrates the town of Parker's respect for these employees while serving to boost morale, open training opportunities, and continuing to increase mental health treatment options, all in which have been proven effective in reducing attrition and turnover. Now, in case you don't know, we have many of our communication specialists here tonight. Would you guys mind all standing, please? We thought it'd be good to go through really quick and just identify what here at the town of Parker, what they all go through on a daily basis. So our communication technicians are our first responders. They are the calm, comforting, direct, and informed voice that leads the responder to the distressed caller in need of help. Communication technicians are the link between those seeking help and the resources needed to provide it. Every minute of every day, they are poised to act on behalf of those in need, including each of our officers. They help to ensure the welfare of each of our citizens as well as those visiting the community. They take calls of suicidal subjects, missing persons, domestic violence, robberies, burglaries, and found children, just as a few of the calls. Oh, sorry, I lost my place here. They connect for medical and fire assistance with immediacy to the appropriate agency while gathering important information for potential police responses. Many may not understand what goes on behind the scenes in the Parker Police Communications Center, but the first thing one should know is that it can go from 0 to 100 in a blink of an eye, and the first job of the communications technician is to be prepared to act in that situation. Our communications technicians are tasked with answering both emergency and non-emergency calls, managing dual police radio channels, dispatch officers to the calls for service, all while gathering and updating information to help provide scene safety. They inquire about weapons, drugs, mental health issues, gather descriptions of involved parties, and in essence, actively paint a picture for the responding personnel. In addition, communication technicians manage multiple computer screens and applications to do their job. They send additional resources and keep watch over their officers' locations and status on the multitude of simultaneously occurring calls. During the height of COVID-19 pandemic, our communication technicians were the only personnel that were required to be at their consoles 24 hours a day, every day of the week. The console can never go unmanned. Despite the rest of the world coming to a standstill, the calls for assistance continue to come in, and not a single call for help went unanswered. They are passionate about their profession and being of service to many during some of their darkest moments, as well as many enjoyable ones. Our communication technicians may not physically be present in the saving of a life, but they certainly are a critical part of the whole. They are the calm voice in an often chaotic situation. There is no doubt that they are an essential part of the first responder family. If you guys have any questions at all, I'd be happy to answer them.
Thanks, Commander. We'll start with Councilmember Dyack.
I have.
We can do comments or questions.
Yeah. Well, no, I mean, I don't have any questions. I mean, I kind of reflect back to the study session and how Commander Coleman sort of told us about the evolution, which I think you eloquently touched upon, of the of those in front of us. And it's more than just answering a phone, which is sort of, go back many decades on those emergency reruns that I used to watch in the 70s. It's evolved into something more profound, and it takes a special person to do something like that, and I don't believe I have that skill set, and I'm just so glad that we have people who have that skill set here. Thank you very much.
Councilmember Hefta?
Yes, it does take a special skill set. I mean, from what I've witnessed this past week, just with the ride along, I was listening to all of you on the radio as well, and how you coordinate that communication, as well as watching Officer Shoup type on the computer furiously after each call. And I just want to say personally, you've helped my family. We've had several medical emergencies, and I thank you for that calm of a health nature. You're calm, you're professional, you get the right people to the right place at the right time. And it takes a special person to do that. So I don't know what kind of mix of skill set you all have, but it's outstanding what you do. And you stay employed with Parker too. I think some of these employees are longstanding. Is that right, Commander Coleman?
That is correct, yes. And we currently have 17 at this point, and we're looking to hire 2 more.
And they're longstanding employees.
Most of them are, yes.
Yeah, so that's a special mix of compassion, empathy, quick thinking, problem solving, skill set. And so we're we're very, very happy to designate you as first responders, that you very much deserve this.
Councilman Hendricks?
No questions, but just thank you for all you do, and I'm happy to vote for this.
Councilmember Pogue?
I just have a question. How many calls a year do they all handle?
Oh, my goodness.
Probably about 120,000.
Wow.
That is a lot. So thank you very much, because I know it takes talent to even stay in this position for a very long time. So thank you.
Councilman Rivera?
Thank you. I think it's important to state, we give out a lot of resolutions and proclamations and whereas statements, and in those situations, it's about accolades and recognitions. This is not that situation. This is a policy document. This is a definition. This is a reclassification of job duties, if you will. That's huge. Again, I commend Parker Police Department for being at the forefront. This is not just to say thank you, well job, well done, appreciate what you do, have a good day, here's a piece of paper. You are setting the standard, and you guys are redefining your position, and this council has recognized it, and this police department is recognizing it, and your commanders recognize it with passion, and I share that passion. I thank you for what you do. You deserve this reclassification, and well done.
Great. With that, we will open it up for public comment at 9:06. Anyone wishing to make public comment on this resolution? Including you guys. All right. Then we'll close it at 9:06, and I will entertain a motion from the council.
I move to approve resolution number 22-071.
A second.
All right. Motion's made by Hendricks, seconded by Hefta. Rivero?
Aye.
Pogue?
Aye.
Hendricks?
Yes.
Dyak?
Yes.
Hefta?
Yes.
And that passes 5-0. Congratulations. So just as a point of personal privilege, let me add to what council members Rivero and Hefta said. You know, I always thought of you as first responders. So you didn't need this proclamation to get the respect from this council. We all think of you as the first responders on there. And I know most of you have spent the day at work already, and you're still here, and you're tired, and you're ready to go home. But thank you, and congratulations on this well-deserved honor. Thank you. All right, moving on to contracts over $500,000. First up is Jordan Road, Parker House Road Traffic Signal CIP 19-009, and Chambers Road, Red Sky Drive Signal CIP 22-040. Mr. Hudson.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Trying to see if the remote works. All right. So this contract for you tonight is for a combined bid of 2 traffic signals. We combined to try and get some economy of scale. The Jordan Parker House meets federal warrant requirements for installation, and the Chambers Red Sky location is anticipated to meet warrants in early 2023 with the adjacent commercial development. I'm not going to read the dates, but we had a competitive bid on this, started back in October, and we opened bids in November. This is a vicinity map of the Jordan Parker House location. It's just north of E470 and Jordan Road. And the second is the Chambers Red Sky location. This is just north of the Hess Chambers intersection. And you may ask yourself, what's this? It looks like spaghetti on a piece of paper, but this is one of the construction drawings that we have showing what we're going to be building. And this is at the Jordan Parker House intersection. And a lot of those lines that you see there are actually underground utilities that we have to design around to get this thing built. And I hope to heck we don't hit them. We hit them from time to time. With that, we received 3 bids. I'm not going to go over the numbers there. Interface Communications has completed several town traffic signals as a subcontractor in the past, but never as a prime, and they were awarded the Crowfoot Bayou Chambers span wire traffic signal on November 7th, and are getting ready to start that construction in February. And staff recommends this award of this contract. To follow up on some conversation earlier about inflation, 25% in the last 2 years is what we've seen on traffic signals. And if you look back to 2000, we are 3.5 times more expensive to build a traffic signal today than we were in 2000. I wish I got 3.5 times more money than I did in 2000, but that's the reality of what these things cost. And with that, I'll answer any questions you might have.
Great. Councilmember Hefta, questions?
Okay, I'm sorry.
You may start down.
You go, I'm sorry. I'll explain that later.
Councilman Rivera, questions?
No questions.
Okay, Councilmember Pogue.
I agree with you. That's a huge increase, but no questions.
All right, Councilman Hendricks. No questions. Councilman Dyak.
Yeah, my only question was what happened to the $200,000 signalized lights? I mean, you kind of took the thunder out of that.
That was the number almost 20, I was roughly 20 years ago, it was $200,000 a signal. Now they're over $500,000.
Crazy.
So.
And Councilmember Hefta.
No questions.
Okay. All that for no questions. Chris, I just have a question for you. On Red Sky in particular, so that was when we had the developer pay. How much did the developer pay? Was that
It wasn't the full amount. At the time, it was based on our best estimates, but I'd have to go back. I want to say it was around $375,000. I don't know if Tom's still here or not, but yeah, that was our estimate back when they were kicking the tires on that development. And it's just, the inflation is just everywhere we go. It's just unbelievable.
Yep. Okay. And I think now we have put in a corrective action in place, right, where we're getting a bond going forward, so the town's not going to have to take the hit for the inflationary. The bond will then cover that, correct?
We do not get a bond.
So what we're doing on a couple projects, specifically Anthology North and the Looking Glass project, is rather than them giving us the cash contribution for traffic signals up front when they plat the property, we are allowing them to give us a letter of credit. And then once the traffic signal meets warrants, when we want to actually build it, then they'll give us the funds and it'll be escalated from when we get the original estimate at the final plat.
Perfect. Mr. Mayor, I'm sorry. Could we also address that at Parker House? The future developments there, will they be obligated to cover some of the costs?
So as of right now, I think we've gotten funding from every corner that's available out there. The only one is not the wastewater treatment plant. And we have no mechanism to get funds from that.
We'll work
Thanks,
on
Tom,
that.
on that.
We'll work on that.
Okay.
All right, let's open the public comment period at 9:12. Anyone wishing to make a public comment on this? Okay, we'll close it at 9:12 and bring it back to the council if you have any further comments or questions or a motion. Anyone?
Mr. Mayor, I move to approve, I'm sorry.
Go ahead, good.
I move to approve staff recommendation as part of the regular agenda.
Motion is made by Rivera, seconded by Hendricks. Rivera?
Aye.
Pogue?
Aye.
Hendricks?
Yes.
Dyak?
Yes.
Hefta?
Yes.
And that passes 5-0. Next up is Main Street North Sidewalk Improvement, CIP 22-023-CI.
Bob has a family commitment this evening, so I'll be doing the presentation for him. Where this project is along the north side of Main Street from the Victorian East intersection to the Discovery Park property. And this is a vicinity map showing the limits of it in front of the Town and Country Townhomes and also the town's, I call it the Parker Water property, but I've heard it called Economic Development property. So
Library.
what's happening, we're going to be widening this sidewalk out, and this is to match in with what we did to the east a few years ago in front of Discovery Park and what we did in 2008 downtown. Add trees, pedestrian lighting, we got to modify some traffic signals out there, and we're going to be building a decorative wall along the Town and Country Townhomes, and we'll be restoring the landscaping. This is a cross-section of what will look like in front of the town's property there, the P3 property. This is basically a widened sidewalk. Currently today it's about 5 feet if you count the back of curb. And we'll be widening it to 12 feet. See the lights, the tree grates, and so forth. This is what it's going to look in front of the Town and Country Townhomes. This is there's going to be a short wall. Some of that's going to be used for making up the grade. It's going to act as a retaining wall. Again, a widened sidewalk to increase pedestrian connectivity in our downtown area. This is some renderings we had done early on in the process, kind of showing what it's going to look like in front of Town and Country Townhomes. I don't know where we found the person with that dress like that, but we did. But anyway, that's all part of the rendering. This is what it's going to look like. It's going to be have a brick facade. It will not actually be brick. It'll be faux painted to look like brick. We got 2 bids. This is the results of, normally we'd see many more this time of year. The results of 2 bids and what the engineer's estimate was. Again, inflation is just unbelievable going on right now. And with this, staff recommends town council award on this contract, but we're asking to also have a owner's contingency held outside the contract for unforeseen conditions. We think we have everything addressed, but whenever you're working in a downtown area, I can tell you, you don't. And with that, I'll answer any questions you might have.
All right, Councilman Dyak, questions?
No questions, thank you.
Councilmember Hefta?
No questions.
Councilman Hendricks?
Do you have a ETA on when this might be completed? Best case scenario?
Yeah, so I'm trying to remember. Bob has 2 different milestones in the contract. The piece in front of the PAR P3 or Confluence property, whatever it is today, that will be done by Parker Days. And then the other piece will be done after Parker Days, and I want to say it's July.
Okay.
That's kind of what we're looking at. I have to get back to you. If you want more, Todd, I can get back to you with specific dates.
Just curious. Thanks.
Okay.
Councilmember Polk?
I don't have any questions, thank you.
Councilman Rivera?
No, I just a comment. I think it's important as we activate the east end that we give definition to the townhomes and allow a little bit of protection from pedestrians. Widening the sidewalk is important, but I think the fence and the wall are equally important. They have enough people camping in the yards during parades. They don't need the pedestrians walking by and walking on the grass. So I think this is beneficial. It gives value to those townhomes, I believe. Well done.
Excellent. We'll open up public comment for this at 9:17. And we'll close it at 9:17 if there's none. Council, if there's no further comments or questions, I'll entertain a motion.
I'll move to approve the staff recommendation as a part of the regular agenda.
I'll second.
Motion is made by Pogue, seconded by Hefta. Rivera?
Aye.
Pogue?
Aye.
Hendricks?
Yes.
Dyak?
Yes.
Hefta?
Yes, and I'd just like to comment that I want to thank Councilmember Cheryl Polk for making that last recommended motion.
Great. With that, and no other business before the Parker Town Council, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Great.
For me permanently.
I'll second.
Motion is made by Councilmember Pogue, seconded by Councilmember Hendricks. Rivera?
Aye.
Pogue?
Aye.
Hendricks?
Yes.
Dyak?
Yes.
Hefta?
Yes.
That passes 5-0, and we're adjourned at 9:18. But wait, there's more. There's no. Does anyone need...